Based on my analysis, there have been additional physical evidence that has been recovered and is currently being examined at the laboratory. Okay? On Wednesday, December 17, 2008, Henderson County authorities were called to 10,004 West Gilbert Street here in Hendersonville. The residence of the victim, Charity Worley, her son Jaden, her mother Linda Casey, and sister Lindsay Simpson, and Lindsay's daughter Emma. Upon arrival at the residence, authorities discovered the victim under a vehicle. The victim was transported by EMS to Party Hospital, where she was declared deceased. And of course, after an extensive review of the case materials, the following profile of the offender was prepared. This was a targeted violent act. This is not the act of a random offender. The people of Henderson County need not be concerned that there's somebody running around in your county that's going to continue to do this. Charity Worley was targeted specifically for who she was. Based on a preliminary analysis of the evidence, I believe that this crime was committed by one person or a lone offender. In other words, there's nothing in the crime scene that indicates that more than one person was involved. Profiling studies the crime scene, looks for behavioral clues. What the offender does inside the crime scene tells us who they are. Okay? The offender had a personal relationship with Charity. And there was a conflict between the two that resulted in the murder of Charity. I want to repeat that because this is significant. A personal relationship with the victim, and there was a conflict between the two that resulted in the murder of Charity Worley. The offender is familiar with the victim, her habits, and most specifically her morning rituals. The investigators and I believe that the offender is most likely a white individual in their mid-20s to mid-30s. The crime is impulsive. Therefore, the offender will be impulsive by nature. Those acquainted with the offender will recognize the individual is impulsive by nature and quick-tempered. The weapon of choice and the wounds that were inflicted on Charity could have been committed by either a man or a woman. And if you'll bear with me a second, I wanted to give you, this is an exact size of the pipe that was used against Charity that morning. And it would have been easy for a woman or a man to wield this pipe and deal the crushing blows that ended Charity's life that morning. And this, to give everybody a benefit of what kind of pipe we're talking about, I mean, this would inflict serious damage to anybody. And now you can see why it would be easy for a woman or a man with equal amount to be able to swing this pipe and cause the damage they caused to Charity Worley that morning. And here's an example of how heavy it is. That would cause significant damage, and it did cause significant damage and ended the life of Charity Worley that morning. Another significant point is that the offender will live within an extremely close proximity to the residence at 10,004 West Gilbert Street at the time of the crime. Extremely close. The offender will have a limited violent crime history. This person isn't a person that's going to run around committing violent crimes, because this is not a well thought out crime. It worked and it was efficient, but it wasn't well thought out. So therefore, I would expect that they not have a long violent history, criminal history, because if they've gone through the process, they will have learned the mistakes not to make. They will most likely have a history of impulsive type crimes. Again, we talked about how impulsive the crime itself was. That means they are impulsive persons, so they will have committed impulsive crimes in the past, such as theft, drugs, or alcohol violations. The offender's job history will be one of spotty employment due to their impulsive nature. Again, they're an impulsive person. If an impulsive person works with an employer, they're going to get out of line with the employer and therefore constantly moving from job to job, if they have a job. Okay, it is my experience that the offender will follow this case in the media. Okay? They will have an interest, not just in the media accounts, Facebook accounts, blogs, but also gossip throughout the community. This will cause the community to begin talking about the Charity Worley case again, and this person will follow that. Okay? They will talk about the murder with their family, friends, and associates constantly. It will be a very important part of their life for the next bit. Over a period of time, the stress of the murder that occurred has now dissipated. This murder occurred in 2008. So those stressors that they had after the murder was committed have dissipated. After today, they'll be back. The comments that the offender will most likely make to friends, family, and associates will be non-committal, asking others for their opinion on how and why they think it happened, and if the authorities have contacted them, and what did they tell investigators. This offender will want to know what everybody is saying. They also may make statements blaming the victim in some manner. For example, they always knew that the victim's lifestyle was going to eventually catch up with her, or whoever did it was high on drugs or alcohol. They're giving excuses, blaming the victim and giving excuses. Okay? We talked about the stressors that will have gone away since 2008 that are now going to be back. When I say stressors, the thing that the public should be looking for are anxiety issues, differences in food consumption, drug and alcohol use, and changes in sleeping habits and patterns. Okay? Now, because of these stressors and because of these changes, I do not want the public or the media to confuse this with remorse. This is not remorse. This is a burden. This is fear of becoming identified or apprehended. That's what's causing the stress, not remorse. Okay? This burden that I speak of and these stressors may cause erratic outbursts, because we've already said they're an impulsive person and they're prone to violence, prone to a quick temper. Okay? They continue to pose a danger to people around them. In other words, if they become stressed, they may act out against those they care about the most for fear that their family members or associates will identify them as the potential killer. We know that there is someone close to the offender, the murderer, who suspects somewhere in the back of their mind that this person did it. But they don't want to truly believe it. They don't want to consciously believe that their loved one could commit such a heinous act. We know that coming forward against a loved one is difficult. But they may be the only person that can stop this from happening again. I want Charity to get justice. I want Charity to be remembered as a mother, as a daughter, and as a wife, and not just a victim.